Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rick Lopes. I am with the California Department of Real Estate. There will be a quiz at the end. We'll ask you to remember which agencies, and if you can say them as alphabets, that'll be even better. So if you do, it's DRE, which is just simple for Department of Real Estate. And we're going to talk a little bit for the next few minutes about real estate scams. Specifically, I was asked to speak about rental scams. So I'm just going to let you know about some of the things that we're seeing out there right now. If these don't apply to you, as our other speakers have said, we encourage you to pay attention to it, take some notes, and if you know somebody, in our case, who's looking to rent, or if they have somebody who's having problems with their landlords, that's the main information that I'm going to be covering today. The first scam that we can see, that we're seeing, is for people who are trying to rent out houses that they don't actually own. So what's happening is, is everybody familiar with websites like Zillow or Redfin or some of these that show homes that are for sale? What we're finding now is what people are doing is they're going to those websites and they're taking all the pictures and information about the house and then going to a different website and creating a listing that house is actually for rent. Okay, so they have no connection to the house, but they're making it look like it's for rent. And what they do is they advertise it for a very low price. So let's say, for example, that a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that's 1,500 square feet, so let's say it rents for $2,000, about the average price. They would come in and put an ad up for $1,400. And they want to encourage people to get to it because they know good rental houses. They're going to see nice pictures. It's going to look nice. They want to, as we've talked about, they're going to try to get you, this is only going to last a short time. Come take advantage of this. What they're going to try to do is a couple of different things. They're either going to get you to fill out a phony application and provide them with all of your personal information, bank information, potentially social security numbers and the like. Or what they're going to do is they're going to try to get you to commit to renting that property without ever going to see it by just using your phone, something like Zillow, like Zelle or Venmo. So you can electronically quickly send them the first month's rent, a security deposit, a few $1,000s, and with the way the technology goes now, they can take advantage of that. And you said, this is a great house, it looks beautiful, okay, I'm going to do it. And then it happens within just a few minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video of somebody who almost got conned by this just down the road in San Luis Obispo County. Okay, so you know you weren't seeing double. It was actually, well, maybe you were seeing double. So anyway, so you see that's just an idea of what they can do and how technology can do this to take advantage of you quickly. So what can you do to protect yourself? You're going to hear it. I think we had a dime for every time we've said it so far. If something sounds too good to be true, it's going to be. Especially in a tight housing market, if you see something that looks like a great house that's going to be really inexpensive, there's got to be some catch to it. There's no free lunches, as they say. One thing you can do is if it's something you are interested in is you can do an online search for that address. So take the home address, do a search, you're going to get Zillow, you're going to get Redfin. What we find is these houses have been for sale recently or right now or within the past few months. So there's a chance that they could say, well, yes, somebody bought the house and instead of flipping it, they bought it to be a rental. But that way you'd find out, okay, it's a legitimate rental. So it's good to do an online search to see if that property is actually for sale or if it was for sale in the last few months. Don't rent a property without touring it in person. Again, they use the pressure of saying this is not going to last long, trying to commit you to do it before you do what's called your due diligence. So you never want to rent a property before touring it in person. And then lastly, don't transfer the money without viewing all the rental documents. Usually if you're going to rent a property, it's, you're going to have at least a 1-year lease. All the rules and everything that goes with a lease is going to be there. You never want to do this stuff just over the phone or electronically. You want to be sure to see that paperwork in advance. Okay, the next scam we'll talk briefly about is something called QR codes. Are you guys familiar with those? You're starting to see them more and more often. It's a little tough to see on the screen here, but on the signs here, it looks like a jumble of little squares. And if you point your phone at that, and it's safe if you point your phone at this one, it just goes to our website. But this actually can, if you use the phone on your camera and shoot that, it'll give you a link. You can click on it, and you can go to a website. What we're finding now is our real estate agents are starting to use these on a house sign on for sale houses. If you drive by that way, it allows the person to get more information about the house really quickly. But what we're finding now is we're starting to see the scammers print out their own QR codes on stickers, and whenever they see one of those, as they go and they place theirs over them, they can create a whole separate web page that can be just for that property and making it look like it's the real estate agent's page. Or in some cases, even if there's not a QR code there, is they'll take that sticker and they'll just put it on a for sale sign. So technology is a great thing, but if for all the 95 people it brings in and do good, there's going to be 5 people in there who are going to look for a way to scam you by it. And unfortunately, we're starting to see the scams now coming with the QR codes. So we want you to be careful about those. Definitely don't transfer money by a link that you see. And also be careful in restaurants and stores. This is obviously not something the Department of Real Estate regulates, but you're seeing a lot of these, especially during the pandemic. It's the way that you're able to get a menu when you go to a restaurant, and in some ways now you can even pay for your meals. Is be really careful, because these scammers are doing some of these same things. They're putting their stickers over the restaurant stickers, or they're doing things to try to get you to go to a site that you weren't expecting to go to. So be aware of it. It's unfortunate because QR codes are a great shortcut to be able to get information. But just be sure when you get to that site, you're seeing it's reputable. And if they're asking for any kind of exchanges of money, if it's at the restaurant, I'd suggest go the old-fashioned way. You give them the card or have them. Sometimes they'll bring the machine by and do it right there, so you don't actually even have to hand over the card. But just be careful, because these codes are starting to get used as a way to scam people. I'm going to spend the last few minutes here just talking about some very basic tenant rights. Again, if you've got friends, family members, sons, daughters, grandkids who are renters, this is just some of the basic things in areas where they just want to be aware that they do have a lot of rights if there's problems with their properties. So these couple slides here are going to deal with making repairs and what the landlord is ultimately responsible for. And if there's any issues that people have with these, they definitely want to try to take care of those quickly. And if they can't, we'll have some resources that can help. The first is, I'll just run down the list here: lead hazards, structural hazards, inadequate sanitation. And sorry, I couldn't find a way to make this legal thing shorter. A nuisance that endangers the health, life, safety, property, or welfare of the occupants or the public. Basically anything that can put them in danger. Your house is supposed to be a place where you're safe. The house should not be a place that puts them at danger. So any of those kinds of things, if there are problems with any of that, it's the responsibility of the landlord. And some of those examples would be waterproofing and weather protection, especially now that winter will be coming soon. If there's any problems with the roofs, with the windows, with the doors, water's leaking into the property, that is something that's going to put the tenant in danger. The landlord needs to take care of that. Also, the plumbing facilities. You got to make sure it's got hot and cold running water. If it doesn't, that's an issue. You want to be sure it's connected to a sewage disposal system. If there's problems with the toilets, that's something they need to take care of. And gas, if there's natural gas, the stove, the heater possibly, that needs to all be in working order. The heating facilities, also the electrical systems, including the lighting, the wiring and equipment. Switches don't work, plugs don't work. They need to take care of those. If it's a multi-story, the floors, the stairways, railings, all those have to be in good condition. Again, you don't want your home to put you at danger. And then I mentioned with the natural gas as well. So if there are issues, the first thing you want to do is you want to talk to the landlord, try to have a good open line of communications. If there are issues that you can't get them to take care of, we would encourage you to make sure you document it to them in writing. Give them a deadline to get back or to take care of this, and if they don't by your deadline, then you can take other actions, whether it be potentially holding back rent or trying to get some help from third parties. In the local cities or counties, there's lots of agencies. Here in Monterey County, there are agencies that can help you. There's also the local housing authorities, housing departments. The district attorney can also be of assistance in this area. And there are legal aid organizations, so low or no cost legal help if you have to get to that point where you can't get things taken care of with your landlord. I'll also mention we do have a landlord tenants guide that we've got available. Here's the Spanish ones, but we have them English as well. So feel free, if you want to take any of those, or if you've got somebody to give them to, please feel free to do that. A lot more of the information is in there. I also want to just put a pitch in for anybody, if you know somebody, or if you'll be down in the market to actually look for a home. We've just started a new podcast that's aimed at the first-time home buyers. And an interesting thing that I've learned along the way is in California, you can be a first-time home buyer more than once. You actually, the definition is if you haven't purchased a home in the last 3 years, if you haven't owned a home for 3 years and you go to purchase a home again, you're considered a first-time home buyer. Why that's important is there's a lot of programs out there here in California to help first-time home buyers. Another one of our sister agencies, the Housing Finance Agency, it's called Cal HFA, has a lot of first-time homeowner programs, whether it's down payment assistance, the mortgage programs. They've got a lot of great programs. So our podcast talks about all this. We go through the different parts of buying a home. And so I'd encourage you, if you're not into it, sons, daughters, granddaughters, grandkids, looking at that, let them know about that. We're on all the main platforms. It's called First Home California. So we just encourage you to have them check that out with a lot of great information for home buyers. That is not, but I'd be happy. I can write that down or give you the information. I'd be happy to do that. All right, and then at the bottom there's our alphabet soup. DRE.ca.gov is the website for the Department of Real Estate. All right, thank you.